Oh.
Hello, guys in the chat. I see you there. I see you, Matt G. I see you, Rick. I also see I'm styling on you, bro. Welcome to the stream. We'll be starting soon. We just sat down. We'll be getting going very shortly.
Stylin's the one that hates me for my Nicolas Cage comment.
Okay, say that again.
Stylin's the one who got mad at me for my Nicolas Cage comments, right?
I believe so.
All right. Well, I'll have a response. I mean, I did, All
right. We'll be starting soon, guys.
You are listening to Trophy Horse with your hosts, Tricky Mick, Alex, I Yield to No One,
Steve.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Trophy Wars. This is episode 576. I'm your host, Tricky Mick. Alongside with me, the man, the myth, the legend. It's Alex.
Since when did I become a villain for, not liking some of Nicolas Cage's movies?
Right around the same time you became a villain of laptops and beating them up.
Well, you know what? Sometimes you get frustrated and you just punch your laptop. I mean, I can explain what happened, but...
He brings the awesome. It's I Yield to No One.
I've played a little bit of everything this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tricky,
you want to...
Go ahead.
You want to give me some time to explain my laptop conundrum?
Yeah, please, because I got to go find my lighter, too.
Okay. Smoking in the house again, huh?
Yes, sir.
Oh, well, great. That's great for the dog. So anyway, I'm in need of a new laptop. Well, first and foremost, because my laptop is 10 years old. But also, one of these past Fridays, it was last Friday, not last Friday, but the Friday before that. Ashley, she gets off, work later in the day on Friday and texts me before she comes home, hey, what do you want to eat? Well, it just so happens that my iPhone was updating while she was trying to figure out what we were going to eat. And I couldn't use my iPhone to get back in touch with her and say, hey, do this, do that. So I tried to get on my laptop and get onto Facebook and send her a Facebook message. And my laptop was going, exceptionally slow, probably because it's 10 years old. And I decided to punch it 3 times, and the screen went blank. And now when I tried to restart it, it doesn't get past the startup screen. Or it does, but it just stays on the black screen. So I am in need of a new laptop, and Tricky is trying to talk me into getting one that's more than I want to pay, just so I can run Twitch when he's not here.
Which I think is a fair thing to ask.
Yeah, but that's beyond the uses that I intend for it. I want to spend less than $300 just for something I can surf the web on, maybe keep some pictures on, and record the podcast on. With 8 gigabytes of RAM, I can record the podcast on Skype and run Windows. I don't need all this, tomfoolery spending $500, $600 for Twitch.
Yeah, but don't you care about the fans and be able to see and hear the show live?
I care about the fans very much. How often am I here to record Tricky Mick? Don't you dare question how much I care about the fans and the community.
I don't think you want to do the show live when I'm not here.
But here's the thing. If I do that, then that gives you more incentive to take time off. And you already take enough time off from the show.
I'm sorry that I have to work.
You should be. And again, work in quotations.
No. The last 2 weeks I worked. Rick says technology does not like violence.
Well, what about all that advice, Rick, where you have like a vending machine or a copier or whatnot? If it's not working, just hit it real hard.
Kick it. Yes.
There's a term for that. It's called a technical tap.
Well, also, you don't want to take it too far. You don't want to go overboard like an Office Space where they took the fax machine out and just beat the shit out of it in the field. But
apparently, you never worked in an office setting.
No, I would hate working in a cubicle. I would absolutely hate it.
That I felt that in the core.
I get it, but also, it's a hell of a way to get the company to buy a new fax machine. But yeah. Oh, and then since we got Stylen in the chat. Stylen took umbrage with me and some of the things I said about Nicolas Cage, and I will, stand by what I said. And I think that there's a definitive line in Nicolas Cage's career where he goes from before that line, he makes movies you can really enjoy. After that line, whole bunch of shit.
Well,
kind of like Adam Sandler's career, his career trajectory. There's a definite point, and I think that point is anger management. Which anger management before, a lot of good stuff. After that, a lot of dreck. You got a lot of your grown-ups going on. No one wants to see that.
Stylen has a comment for you in the chat.
Go ahead and rip, Stylen.
He says, hopefully when your new laptop comes, there's it's just a bunny in a box, kind of like Con Air starring Nicolas Cage. Then Rick said,
"Hey, you want to get me to talk some Con Air style? And I love Con Air. It's one of my favorite movies. So I love the reference. We could talk Con Air all day."
And then apparently there's more things coming. Rick says, "You better put the bunny back in the box." Stalin says, "I wasn't actually mad, but there is quality Nick Cage, and there's just OTT Nick Cage." And Rick says, "Alex isn't wrong on both counts." And then Matt G says, "Why couldn't you put the bunny back in the box?"
Yeah, Billy Bedlam learned that the hard way because Nicolas Cage killed his ass in the cargo hold of that plane. But one of the things that makes Con Air so good, and like I think Nick Cage is fine in the movie, but I think John Malkovich and Ving Rhames and Steve Buscemi, like there's a really good cast there. So it's not just Nicolas Cage. That movie's good because of the ensemble cast. So there's a lot going on in Con Air that I really like.
So which movie's better in your opinion, Con Air or The Rock?
Con Air.
Oh, yielded quick with that answer.
I love The Rock because it's got Sean Connery in it, but I think I enjoy Con Air more.
Sir Sean Connery. So I'm gonna agree with Yield in that I like Con Air. I would rather watch Con Air, and out of like in my lifetime, I will watch Con Air more than I will watch The Rock. But I do think The Rock is a better movie because I think that Nicolas Cage is actually better in The Rock than he is in Con Air. Because again, I think you could attribute a lot of what is good in Con Air to a lot of the cast. And don't get me wrong, Sean Connery is great, but I think that Nicolas Cage is better in The Rock than he was in Con Air.
Well, I mean, Sean Connery will do that to you.
And Ed Harrison.
That was the only reason Ed Harrison was an excellent villain. That was the only reason I watched The Rock. I'm like, oh, Sean Connery, I got to watch this.
All right, so Stylin says, great supporting cast and humor. Rick says Con Air was better. Stylin says The Rock, Cage is a little bit more eccentric. Rick says Face Off beats both, though. And then Stylin agrees with that. So we also have to address another blasphemous comment that you made about Nicolas Cage. This was done in a private phone call between me, you, and Ashley. You said National Treasure's a shit movie.
It is. Some people may find it entertaining. I think Yield said he liked National Treasure, but
I do.
As a movie, no, I think it's a bad movie. Can you still enjoy bad movies? Sure. But I think it's a bad movie. Are you going to put National Treasure in the same category as you put Face Off, The Rock, and Con Air?
Yes. Because National Treasure, it's not like the history and like the way they integrated the puzzles and stuff into it. I thought that was really, really cool. Like that's one of the reasons why. Like I don't know if you guys ever watched it. You guys ever watched the show Prison Break?
No.
On Fox, no, I did not.
Okay, so premise of the show is Michael Scofield's brother gets put into prison for allegedly killing the vice president. Michael Scofield, his whole mission is to break his brother out of prison, but he goes and commits a crime, so he gets put in the same jail as him, so he can break his brother out. But what's cool about it is in the months leading up to him committing the crime to get put in the prison with his brother, he went and got like a series of tattoos all over his body, that every single tattoo on his body was part of the blueprint to get him out. Like the right nut size that he was going to need to unscrew this. There was a map, I like when you integrate puzzles into ordinary things, and that just intrigues me. So National Treasure to me was, there's a map on the back of the Declaration of Independence. Oh, it's, this is the staircase you got to go down, and I love that shit. So
but
I would put it up at high.
Just because the movie is good in concept doesn't mean the execution is great. And all right, we're going to go to Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes, and some people may not put much stock in this, but National Treasure has a Metascore of 40 out of 100 based on 36 reviews, and the user score, which sometimes, in the case of Rise of the Beast, can be a lot better than the critic scores. It's better in this case, but it's still a 6.9 out of 10. That's not great. Now, Rotten Tomatoes says it's 46% out of 100% on the tomato meter, and then an audience score of 76. So the audience score of over 250,000 ratings is better. But again, I will say it's not a good movie. You can enjoy it, but you're not going to sit here and convince me it's a good movie.
All right, we're gonna move on from this, but just some comments from the chat because apparently this Nicolas Cage conversation is bringing up the comments.
Tricky? I've been to his grave before. Have you been to his grave?
To whose grave?
Nicolas Cage.
He's alive. Why would he have a grave?
He pre-bought a tombstone for himself. It's a giant pyramid down in one of the graveyards in New Orleans. And when we went to New Orleans a few years ago, I actually visited it. Yes, he's still alive, but he has already pre-bought his plot with the headstone.
That's awesome.
All right, so Salin says National Treasure is entertaining. Matt G says at least Sean Bean doesn't die in National Treasure. Stylin says Prison Break was great for a season until they broke out. I agree. Rick says, did he get the nut size on his balls? No, but that would have been entertaining.
Well, that's what I thought you were talking about when you said he got a nut size. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Well, if you get the nut size, then you have to get the cock ring size too.
Stylin says National Treasure is a solid 7 out of 10. And then Rick says, my parents met Nicolas Cage in Glastonbury. He was probably looking for the castle. And Stylin says Cage bought a grave just like Logan Roy. I don't know who Logan Roy is.
He's the patriarch of the family in Succession.
10-4. All right.
Good old Brian Cox. Or Stryker from the second X-Men movie, X-Men X2.
All right, let's get on with the show. Let's do our updated trophy count. Just, placeholder. I got to put this out there. If you go and look at my PSN profiles, there is a shitload of trophies being hidden. Right now, if you looked at my PSN profiles, it says I only have 115 platinums, and I'm hiding 16,449 trophies. I did that just to help Gareth when he goes through, because last week I got 40 platinums. They were all spam, and he was having a hard time finding legit platinums. So I just went in there and just took all the rat spam so he can go in there and look without problem. All the trophies are going to get unhidden at the end of the year. But my official trophy count is level 873. Total trophies of 28,098 with a plat count of 770. Hopefully tonight I'll have my 771st.
Oh, yeah? What game's that?
Grid Legends.
Oh, how's that going?
It's good. I have some gripes about the game. It just seems like...
Because, I picked it up when it was for Plus, so I'm just debating about whether or not I actually want to play it, but I'm like, that's a racing game.
It's a good racing game. Most races are like 2 to 3 laps. Some of them get up to 6. But it's quick in and out races and whatnot. And there's just you go through the story mode, and then you got to do the career. I went through, beat all the DLCs already. I spent $10 on the DLC because I just wanted to try to get 100% of the game. But I have some gripes with it because it seems the how do I say this? It seems like the AI is not hard to beat in a race, but they also don't give you any space when running a line. So if I'm going to pass somebody and like I'm clearly like pulling up on them fast, and then I cut to the side, because I'm anticipating them turning right.
Yeah.
They will ease to the right to block you, but it's like if I tap them, I go spinning out of the way. But if they tap me, I also go spinning. It doesn't, like, the AI reactions don't seem consistent. And then there's a lot of times, like, I have a car, and all of a sudden, like, I'm drafting it. Like, you watch NASCAR, Yield.
Yeah.
You're drafting behind the car, and then all of a sudden, they're flying over the top of my car because I went underneath them.
Nice.
That should not be happening.
No.
Especially when we have, like, my bumper. I don't know this for sure because I play an overhead view, but my bumper is a good 6 inches above their bumper. There's no way I should be able to pull the air off the bottom of their car and lift them up over me.
No, you shouldn't.
So it just seems like it's a little off. I'm just trying to read the chat real quick. Rick says, Tricky admits he has less legit plats than the other host. Stalin says Legends DLC had zero effort put into it, especially the last one. I agree. Matt G says no macros for help with that. No macros. Rick says Tricky, where's your camera? You talk about the camera in the game or camera on Twitch? And Stalin says, do you think William Byron wins the championship this year? I could care less about F1 or Indy cars or anything. I really don't even watch NASCAR anymore with all their rule changes, so I don't watch racing anymore. Oh, Rick wants my camera on Twitch. Rick, I can't do that just because my house is a mess right now because I was doing some cleaning. And I don't want you guys to see my messy ass kitchen.
Wait. Your house is a mess because you were cleaning? Usually it's the opposite where your house is no longer a mess because you were cleaning.
Well, things are moved around because I'm cleaning behind the fridge and all that stuff. So like I pulled my fridge out, which then I had to move a rack, so the rack's not in place. So just like it's cluttered, but because I'm cleaning. You guys know you move things when you clean, and then you haven't had time to put it back yet. But anyway, yeah. So I'm literally right now I'm 2 trophies away from getting the platinum in Grid Legends. I just have to go through like 4 more races to complete the gauntlet, and I think the other trophy I have to get is you have to drive 50 miles in all of the Ferraris in the game, but you have to beat certain races to unlock the Ferraris. And I think I just unlocked my last Ferrari, so I just basically got to go in the race creator and drive around Indy for 50 miles. But yeah. But I should have that tonight. If not, I got to find out how to unlock the last Ferrari. And then I just go around and whatnot. But Grid Legends, I know I'm talking a lot here, guys. Grid Legends does the thing in video games that I hate the worst. Do you guys remember what that is?
No, but you will tell us.
Have a tutorial that you have to pay attention to?
No. It's when you're
a trophy system that you actually have to do something other than press X?
You're a dick.
Yeah, I figured I'd take the opportunity. You opened the door.
It's what they did in Darksiders, where like it's a hack and slash. All of a sudden, now you have to do this flight control for a trophy, and you never do flight control again in the game. This Grid Legends, now granted, like it's a little different, but Grid Legends is all about racing, and now all of a sudden they're throwing drifting into it, and the drifting is unforgiving. I mean, you tap something and your whole combo is gone. I had a 25 times 25 combo, and I tapped, and I mean lightly tapped a sign, and my combo went away down to 0. I hate that.
But isn't drifting a regular mechanic in a racing game, in like every racing game?
Well, it depends on your type of racing. I mean, Grid, I would surmise that it's more of like in a Formula One or an Indy car type racing, and you don't want to drift with those cars.
Yeah.
Or is it more like street racing?
It's a combination of NASCAR, Indy, and F1, where it's like some of them are on tracks. Like Indy has the oval like NASCAR, but they also have the
then none of those series you want to drift in.
Right, and then it's like, unless you're playing it, I really can't describe it to you other than it's like the tightest corners, and I don't know how the multiplier works either, because it's like you go in and you would figure like you do one draft, that's times 1. The next drift would be times 2. The next drift make you times 3, but it's not like that. It's like I do the longest ass drift, and the multiplier doesn't go up. But then my tires squeal when I'm going around a corner, and it adds a multiplier on. So I don't know what actually activates the multiplier to do it. So to get up to a times 25, and then, I mean, I cannot emphasize this enough. I barely tapped a sign, and it went away. I've had times where I was drifting around a corner, and then just I didn't hit anything, and my combo would go away saying I spun. I'm like, what the hell? And there's Stalin put it in the chat. there's a trophy for the DLC that you have to get 1 million points in one drift event. And like I'm dreading even trying to do that one. Salad says, LOL, I fucking hate drifting in video games. He is that 1 million drift trophy was a pain. All the cars sucked. Then he comes back and says, he's talking about the actual drift events where you drift in. Yeah, there's actual like events where it says you have to get this score to come in first place or sixth place. Now with Grid Legends, I will say you don't have to win every race. Like there are certain things where you say like you only have to finish fourth or you only have to finish sixth or whatever it is. You don't have to win every race, but in the gauntlet you have to win every event. And with these seal trophies, is like there's trophies where you have to get around a lap, and they give you a time to get around a lap. And the first time you go around, it's like, let's say the lap is 3 minutes and 3 seconds. You have to beat it in. I was coming through, and like I'm not gonna say like I'm the best at the game, but I'm pretty damn good at this. And my lap time was 3 minutes and 34 seconds. So I had to cut 31 seconds off a lap. And any racing fan knows that's not exactly like easy to do. So you basically have to cheat the track, which. All right, I'm done talking. Yield, what have you been playing, sir?
Well, like I said, where's my phone? Here it is. I've been playing a little bit of everything. I fired up actually some Pain yesterday.
Wow, that's a throwback.
Well, some of the guys were over, and I was trying to think of kind of a different game that we hadn't played in a while. And I was like, my wife actually suggested it. And I was like, you know what? You're right. We ain't played Pain in forever. So we played a round of Pain. I had to remember how to play it at first. I'm like, oh, man, I don't remember what does what. So that was kind of an interesting curveball, trying to remember what did what. So I played some Pain. Played some Zombie Army Trilogy with Nitro. He has yet to play the game, so him and I are going through it on Sniper Elite difficulty, because that's what I need to help go for the Platinum, so we're working through that. Played some Rocket League on Thursday with Alex and Nitro. Did some Deep Rock Galactic. I've done some Everybody's Golf. We're working through our co-op group of myself, Homer, The Brain, and Prepare to Die or Scum. We are going through the Borderlands, a pre-sequel. We were going to go through it on the 3 because I need some multiplayer trophies, and on my 3 version, and a couple of guys couldn't find a controller, so we're going through it on the 4. Did some Power Wash Simulator. Finished up my little event that was going on in World of Warship Legends. Working through, I finished American Fugitive last week, and before Gareth posted his, this is your longest trophy streak according to True Trophies, I had noticed what my trophy streak was, and I'm like, I wonder if I could. All those times I had hit, I think my longest was 30, and I've done it like 8 times. I was like, I wonder if I could actually beat that. But yeah, trying, because those other 8 times I just happened to do it. So I finished American Fugitive last week, and there were a bunch of kind of cleanup trophies. So like once a day this week, I've been just playing it and getting the trophy, and then moving on to my next game. And then I've been playing some Borderlands 3. And I believe that's everything I've played this week.
All right, Alex, what have you been playing other than beating up laptops?
Well, like I said, that was before last week, so we should have reported on that last show, but you weren't here to call me out because you were working.
You didn't tell me until Wednesday, sir. Or actually Tuesday night, technically.
Anyway, so Yield is correct. There was some Rocket League this past week. We went out there and won some games for Nitro, for Nitro's birthday, which was the day before, last Wednesday. I finished, as I said, most of I haven't been earning many points in the rarity event because a lot of my last like a week and a half was spent going back into Tales of Iron and beating the game on Bloody Whiskers mode, which is their version of hard mode. And I can tell you,
is it like really hard?
It is. The thing about that game, though, is, again, there are 3 like basic mechanics to the combat where it's like you got to parry, you got to dodge, or you have to block. And basically the colors that they indicate on the screen tell you what you need to do in a certain situation. But again, part of the difficulty of the combat is there's never any invincibility frames. So even if you get hit once, you don't have invincibility. So that can lead to you getting hit once, then you getting hit again, and it just kind of rolling downhill. So on the hard mode, you can be doing like a perfect run, and then all of a sudden the boss or whatever hits you once, and you're screwed. And like one hit can almost kill you. But the thing about these fights is it's you learn through your failures, and you have to play the fights over and over again to learn when's the best time to punish the enemies. You can get aggressive, but the way that I found to do it best is to learn when you should punish the boss. When they do a series of attacks, like you'll notice they'll do 2 attacks that need to be dodged, and then after that they'll have an attack that needs to be parried. And you can, after parrying it, that's when you can punish. So really it's just over and over again fighting the bosses so that you can learn the best times and places to attack them, and just how to approach their fights. And even when you think you've learned what a boss does, there are generally 3 phases to each boss fight as they lose more and more health. So you kind of gotta learn 3 different phases, which again makes it a little more difficult. But I mean, overall, it's perfectly doable if you're willing to put in the time, and you do need some good reflexes. So it was challenging. I got frustrated at quite a few points, but I made it through on the other side, and I earned myself on PSN Profiles a very rare trophy, which was a new War Chief Rises. It's only a bronze, but it's a bronze that I'm very proud of. So a lot of my energy went into that. So now I have 100% in Tales of Iron, and I'm finished with that game completely. Thank you, Yield. I know that was you because Tricky would never clap for anyone for anything.
Yeah, that was me.
I heard you. I was just in the process of gifting I'm Telling You Bro a Twitch sub. So.
Well, I'm telling you, I wasn't trying to make you not hear it. I very much wanted you to hear that because I said it over the airwaves. After finishing Tales of Iron, I really didn't play a ton more because you ever get in these moods where you get home or it's like late at night and you have some time to play, but you're just like, I'm tired. I really just don't even want to play. Yeah.
Absolutely. A lot of times I'm sitting on my system trying to figure out what to play, and I end up messing in the store or comparing trophies with my friends, what have they earned in certain games, and then before I know it, I'm like, oh, I should go to bed.
Well, I mean, last Thursday we spent a good amount of time playing Rocket League, as we do on a lot of Thursdays. But then, like, once it got to later in the night, when I generally stay up overnight, I was like, I don't really feel like playing games, blah, blah. So I just sat there and watched Transformers Age of Extinction. Not because I thought it was good, but just I wanted to rewatch it because I'm on a Transformers kick lately. Saw Rise of the Beast, so I'm in the mood. And man, that movie's terrible. It's even worse than I remember. But I did start playing another game, and I started playing The Medium, which is, of course, a favorite of actually maybe Levi's favorite game. And I'm not really super far into it to be able to judge it fairly, but I will say that they do this really neat mechanic where your character exists in the material world, which is our world, and then the spirit world, where you can come in touch with spirits that you can't normally see in the material world. And when you have those segments in the game, it's split screen essentially, like as if there's 2 players. So you have the material side, and then you have the spirit side. It's really cool how like the story plays out through that, and you get to know essentially spirits in the spirit world. And you sit there on one screen and you can see that spirit, but then in the material world, which is on the other split screen, your character's just talking to nobody. And you can use that stuff to solve puzzles. Like you've got a doorway you need to get through. And in the spirit world, you can use some kind of electric power to boost, turn the power back on to like a mechanical door or something like that, or a mechanized door. So it's a cool mechanic. Like I said, I haven't played a ton to get really into the story or to give a fair judgment of the game, but it's a game I've wanted to try out based on Levi's high opinion of the game, and like it's on PlayStation Plus Extra. So I'm trying to use my PlayStation Plus subscription, which Tricky gifted me, as much as I can. So I'll have probably more to say as I get through the game. But I mean overall, like the way that they walk the material world and the spirit world and how they show that for your character is really cool. So this could be a really unique game with a cool story that plays out. But I'll just have to comment more on that later, because honestly, last week after Tales of Iron, I just wasn't really in the mood to play a whole lot. That needed a lot of thought. At this point, Rocket League for me is just like I ain't really got to think about it, to be honest with you.
All right, I kind of throwing off because of all the Grid Legends talks. Did we go through your trophies as well?
No.
Alex, what are your trophies?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because it's because we didn't do that and I had them ready too. The first time in history,
I got distracted. I'm like, I didn't say Sid's trophy, so did they say theirs?
No.
That's the biggest crime of all. I am level 480, total trophy count of 8,800, and a platinum count of 146 in 145 games.
Yield.
I am a newly minted level 500 with a trophy count of 9662 and a platinum count of 174.
And Sid is level 832, total trophies of 22,122 with 717 platinums. So, yeah.
Because Sid's the man.
Yeah. Doesn't have as many as me, but, who does?
Sid's the man.
Yeah. We miss Sid, by the way.
CJ.
He doesn't count.
He's got more than you.
Yeah,
like leaps and bounds more than you.
He doesn't count.
I'm just saying. You asked who. I pointed out one who.
Styler says that's a sadistic amount of trophies.
Stylin's bringing the heat this week. I like it. Got the Con Air references on lock. Got the play on words. Maybe Stylin should be a host of the show.
Rick says top 100 in the world and he doesn't count. Okay, bro. I'm joking. I like CJ.
You said that real begrudgingly.
Sometimes my humor just doesn't come across to you guys. That's all I'm saying.
What you couldn't see is that Tricky threw a plate against the wall as he said it. And it made no sound. That was the other thing. It made no sound.
That's because he lives in a rubber house.
It's because it fell just into the pile of trash in his house that he doesn't want everybody to see.
Yes. All right.
All right.
So I'm all discombobulated right now. Alex talked about what he's playing. Deal, did you talk about what you're playing?
Yes, we covered what I've been playing.
Okay,
and you talked about what you were playing, then Yield did, and then I did.
Well,
we went back and we did our trophies because you went from your trophies to what you've been playing because I asked you how Grid was, and then you're messed up now. We do shout outs.
You asked me about Grid while I was doing the trophies. I've also been playing the Division 2 because the new season finally launched and playing Descent on Twitch. Which
something else I'd like for you to play?
The show?
No, Watch Dogs, because I need that trophy.
I told you to remind me.
I just did. Again.
I'm going to forget.
I know you are.
Here's the thing, Yield. I asked Tricky
a few
months ago if he would look up and see if he had got a game that we had gotten for PlayStation Plus, Awesome Knots, on the PS3, and if he would help me get the last 2 trophies I need, because they're real simple to get. You just got to play with somebody online and do some other stuff. And never heard back from Tricky. He said he would look, and he never heard back from him.
I'm looking right now. I'm looking right now.
Alex, I will tell you right now, since I was on my 3 yesterday, you know what I have on my system? Awesome Knots.
So, literally for the trophies, all I need to do is play an online game with somebody and maybe win one, I think. So if the servers are still on, if you wouldn't mind helping me out that, because Tricky apparently doesn't give 2 shits.
Is it Awesome Knots Assemble?
I'm pretty sure it's just Awesome Knots.
Okay, because I'm looking up. There's no full game called Awesome Knots.
You say win, and we'll do that. Then I can get mine out of the way, and then whenever I go to play it, I've got it out of the way.
All right. See, you know what, Tricky? You could learn from Yield.
I'm looking up Awesome Knots right now on the PlayStation app, and nothing's coming up.
Never mind. Alex and I are booked.
Oh, my God.
This is a 2-person tango, Tricky.
Yes, you've had your chance and you missed. He's now picked a new partner. So you just go sit against the wall, sir.
Rick says, man, Yield asked you about Watch Dogs before episode 500. It hasn't been that long.
Feels like it, though.
It hasn't been a year and a half, Yield.
That is what happens when you eat too much spam. Your mind gets cloudy and you can't remember anything. You remember dick all of nothing.
Can we get into the show?
You're the one that's discombobulated.
Entertaining.
All right. PlayStation Plus games for June have been, PlayStation Plus games catalog editions for June have been revealed. The games joined in the PlayStation Plus games catalog. Whoa, hold on.
And we should say that this is not the PlayStation Plus free games for Essential. These are the games added to the game catalog for the extra tier.
Stalin says, since Tricky can't get in on the action now, invite him to watch. He might just like that.
Whoa!
All right, so
Tricky's used to sitting in the corner watching.
All right, so
I charge extra for that.
All right, so this article from IGN has a typo in it, which threw me off because it said the headline's every game joined in the PlayStation Plus games catalog in May of 23, but the headline of the article is June, so I'm assuming it's just a typo. Rogue Legacy for the 4 and the 5, Far Cry 6 for the 4 and the 5, Shredder's Revenge for the 4 and the 5, Inscription for the 4 and the 5, Solstice for the 5, Tacoma for the 4, Deus Ex Mankind Divided for the 4, Killing Floor 2 for the 4, Lonely Mountains Downhill for the 4, Vampire the Masquerade for the 4, 100 Days Winemaking Simulator for the 4 and the 5, A Hat in Time for the 4, Cardo for the 4, Forger for the 4, Dodgeball Academia for the 4, The Wild at Heart at the 4, Red Out 2 for the 4 and the 5, Thief for the 4, MX vs. ATV Legends for the 4 and the 5, Paw Patrol Mighty Pups Save Adventure Bay for the 4 and the 5, My Friend Peppa Pig for the 4 and the 5, DC League of Super Friends The Adventures of Crypto and Ace for the 4 and the 5,
Actually, Super Pets.
What did I say?
You said Super Friends.
Oh, sorry. Talos Principle for the Deluxe Edition for the 4, and Elix 2 for the 4 and the 5. And your classic games are Killzone Liberation for the PSP, Worms for the PS1, and Herc's Adventure for the 1. A couple good games in there, gentlemen.
We also didn't mention it previously, but they have announced DLC for Shredder's Revenge, and that brings a new game mode as well as new playable characters, one of which they've revealed to be Usagi Yojimbo. So, and they got new different color skins for the turtles, or all the characters, so...
And
that's really cool.
Stalin says he was going to write this as a bad month until I mentioned winemaking simulator.
That could be fun and educational.
You know what?
Possibly.
I got a bone to pick with you guys. When I said I was playing,
you always have a bone to pick.
When I was saying I was playing Lawnmower Simulator, you guys gave me a bunch of grief. Now it seems like you guys are jumping on sim games. What the hell?
Whoa! Back the train up here. So, I have been messing around with it, and I have said I've thought about getting Lawnmower Simulator. I was giving you guff because you played it a little bit, popped the trophy, and then you regretted it. That's what I was giving you the guff for. I'm actually eyeballing it because I'm using some of these sim games as what we like to say, my chill game, where I don't have to worry about, I got to kill so many things, or I got to drift and not touch anything. All I got to do is just play the game and enjoy it. Or I've only got an hour before bed. Or kind of like Alex, I don't know what to play. I'm not in the mood to play anything. You know what? I'll fart around with this game because I don't have to do anything but just do this simple task. So, you get your ducks in a row, mister.
Listen.
Well, also, Tricky, we gave you shit because you told us how long you had to mow lawns for trophies. And it's just like, what? No, thank you. No, thank you. Also,
is that any different than any of the other sim games?
I don't know. I'm sure they're all different.
Yield, how long does it take you to power wash a house or a sidewalk?
Let's see here. I'm at my really second house job. If you do it in one sitting, it's probably a good 2 to 3 hours.
There you go.
Okay, but also lawn mowing is something I can do in real life. Farm Simulator, I can't do any of that stuff. I can't drive a combine or a tractor in real life. I can go outside and mow my lawn.
But you just sat here and said he's actually eyeing it.
I am, yes. Alex is not into those kind of games.
Stalin, are you the one? Sorry, because Stalin's in the chat. So, Stalin, are you the one that plays all the sim games? Because
I believe he is.
Because he said Lawnmower Simulator is great, and he goes, "See, Yield gets the appeal of Sims. Finally, someone."
It took me a bit because, see, really, I call it a sim game, but it's not a sim game. I played Mud Runners. because it looked kind of cool. The whole the cover of the game was like an old Soviet truck, and I'm like, it looks kind of cool. Watch some gameplay on it, and as I'm playing it, I realized that wow, this is kind of a different thing to play than what you've normally been playing. What I start calling a chill game. So then I started kind of looking into more of them. I was always interested in Farm Simulator. We got 17 for free. Started playing that. It's a mindless, simple game to play. And even though I kind of balked at Power Wash Simulator at first, watched some gameplay trailer. Okay, it actually doesn't look too bad. Picked it up on the last sale. Started playing it again. It's another one of them games where you just don't have to think. So this has been kind of a reinventing of me of thinking of what sim games were. Now, I'm not full blown into all of them. I'm not going to play Sims 4, but there are certain simulation games where I'm kind of like, this is a nice chill game.
Some comments from the chat. Rick says that Stylen is the Sultan of Sim. Matt G says V uses sim games to relax. Stylen says Ship Graveyard Simulator is a great one. And then
really, I watched that trailer and it didn't really do nothing for me. I may have to give some gameplay look then.
And Rick says there's a dude on True Trophies that goes by the Din of Sim. I feel like you missed out on that one, and he said Stylen.
I mean, I've even thought about the construction simulator games because I always liked heavy equipment, even though they don't necessarily look the greatest when you're watching some of the gameplay. But I've been like, you know what? I may do it. I played that truck driving game. It was called Truck Driver, and that was kind of I guess you could call it kind of a sim. And that was another one of my just chill games. So
did I not say Jin of Sim?
I don't remember what you said.
I either said Din or I either said Jin or Din. I don't remember what I said.
I don't either.
Oh, Rick says I said Din. I'm sorry. I did know that because he's corrected me in the chat. I thought I said Jin, but I apologize. All right, we're moving on. But Stylus says Construction Sim 2 is great, but 100 plus hours for the inexperienced.
Well, then that would be me.
All right, moving on to our next topic. Wow. We're on fire today, guys.
I'm enjoying the show. I don't know about everybody else.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just looking at, like, we've been talking about getting these shows under 2 hours. It just seems like every week we find some topic and go on.
There may be some topics we just got from the show.
All right, next article coming from IGN, written by Taylor Lyles. Sony is testing cloud streaming for supported games. I'm going to read this real quick because it's not a long article. We'll read the whole thing. Sony announced today has begun testing cloud streaming for supported PlayStation 5 games. In a new PlayStation blog post, Nick Maguire, VP of Global Services, Global Sales, and Business Ops at SIE, said the end goal for PlayStation is to make this, quote, an additional benefit, end quote, to those subscribed to the premium tier of PlayStation Plus. Quote, we're currently testing cloud streaming for supported PS5 games. This includes PS5 titles from the PlayStation Plus game catalog and game trials, as well as supported digital PS5 titles that players own. When this feature launches, cloud game streaming for supported PS5 games will be available for use directly on your PS5 console. That means, as a premium member, it will be easier to jump into your favorite games without downloading them first onto your console, end quote. This announcement comes at an interesting time. PlayStation has previously dabbed into cloud gaming by the way of PlayStation Now before it merged with PlayStation Plus to provide the current iteration of Plus. But the company also recently announced a new handheld device simply known as Project Q, which is capable of playing games installed on your PS5 and streamed over Wi-Fi connection. All right, so I didn't read the whole article, but that's where I'm going to stop. So I'll put this to the chat. Throw your opinions out there. But I know you two aren't too much into the whole Project Q idea. I know that, internet is sometimes an issue for both of you guys at times. And, Yield, I know this really isn't going to go to you because you're not a premium member, but do you think that Sony is making the wrong move by making it able to stream your games when they're also trying to market a streaming handheld?
Well, no, because if you've got a streaming handheld, then you can stream, because those games have to be on your 5 to stream them of the handheld. Yes.
Yes, but I'm also
Okay.
hold on.
So,
But I also think what they're talking about is that with the Project Q, you're going to be able to, because all Project Q is basically a fancy remote play device. So you're actually playing
a Switch for your 5.
right. So you're gonna be able to. So I would assume, and I could be 100% wrong with this, but I believe that even if you're on your Project Q, you can still stream the games on your PS5.
So what I'm trying to draw a connection here is if they can get this cloud streaming to the 5 going, then that makes the Q more valuable because now you can, through your 5, access more titles instead of already having them on your system to play them on the Q. It gives the Q a bigger library.
Fair point. Alex, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, Tricky, you talked about this before because of a specific question I had, but they had to make all of the PS3 games cloud streaming because they couldn't figure out how to, because of the different processor in the PlayStation 3, they couldn't figure out how to make it work where you could download to your console.
Correct.
And use it on the 5. Correct. So, I mean, that would, mix with what Yield said there, in that you would have PS3 games to play and a lot, maybe more of the classic catalog, as they're calling them, to play. It's not, the thing about the Q is it's just another expensive device to play the games you already own, just to play them on a smaller screen. It's not going to have any, or at least we don't know if it's going to have dedicated games, but for what we can tell, it's just a device to play games on a smaller screen that you already own, or that you already have access to on a larger screen, right?
Yeah.
It's just so and my big question was that you have to do over Wi-Fi or maybe like Bluetooth or something like that. Like, we don't assume that you can take this on like your morning commute on the train and play on the Q, from your console at home, because the console would have to be on, right?
Well, with remote play, you can, like, if I turn on my 4 in my living room, if I do the remote play to my PS5, it turns my PS5 on.
And if you do you can turn it off that way, so the PlayStation 5 is not just run. I mean, granted, there are power saving settings where they would turn off or go to sleep eventually. But
yeah, but like when I do remote play on my computer, when I go to close the app, what I do, excuse me, when I close the remote play on the computer, it asks me, do I want to put the PS5 in rest mode? And it's just a box to check yes or no.
But also, the big conundrum is the assumption that this is going to be for at-home use and not on the go.
You're right.
Which the Switch can be used for.
Right. Well, okay, but the Switch. Okay, the difference between the Switch is whether you're handheld with the Switch or it's in the dock. It's all running off the same system. Like the dock, once you take the Switch out of the dock is basically useless. There's no other way to say it. It's just that's all it is. The dock is literally just the way to put the image on your TV. So and also the power, the charger switch. But once you take it out, the dock is basically useless. Where this is still running, it sounds to me like this is just going to be a Wi-Fi device that's going to be able to connect to your PS5. And I know under most remote play settings, I mean, there are IT people out there that can find workarounds, but with remote play devices, you basically have to be on the same Wi-Fi as your system. Because I've never been able to, connect my Vita at work to my PS5 at home. Because in that case, I'm going over one Wi-Fi or one cell connection that's now got to connect to my home Wi-Fi that's got to turn on my PS5. I never got it to work. So this, to me, like, if this is strictly Wi-Fi, Project Q is strictly Wi-Fi, like, I see the appeal of it, but in large in part, it's going to be useless because if I have to be home to use my Project Q, then I might as well just go play on my PS5.
Well, yes, and here's the thing, is that you're paying a lot more for the functionality of the Switch to basically you have to have two things. You have to have the Project Q, and you have to have a PlayStation 5. So you're buying two devices, spending a lot more money for the functionality of the Switch, but also worse than the Switch because you're not going to be able to take it on the go like you can the Switch. So
yeah, and also
yes, I think this thing is stupid.
Okay, now some comments from the chat. Matt G says this sounds a lot like it's gonna be a trial case for the Q. That's what I was thinking too. Rick says I played a lot of Slay the Spire on my phone at work through cloud gaming. Wouldn't have liked to play anything more involved though. It's perfect for turn-based stuff in his humble opinion. Matt G also says streaming from the internet to the 5, then the 5 to the Q sounds lactastic. I was thinking the same thing. Stylen says if it doesn't work and people complain, it's safe to say it's Project QQ. I don't get that joke. Rick says I used to play remote play from the PS4 to the Vita at work. It was laggy as fuck. And yeah, those are all the comments.
It's like go ahead.
I was gonna say I like the idea of streaming. Like if I want to try a game, I like the idea. Excuse me. Stylen says QQ is old school for crying. Okay, I didn't know that. I like the idea that if I want to try a game, I could just stream it before downloading it on my system. I like that idea. But if people are going to go so far as to say, I want to use my Project Q or my remote play device to connect to my PS5 to stream that game, at that point, I'm just thinking, why not just let the Project Q stream the game? Why do I have to turn my PS5 to stream that game? It maybe this is a test case for it. I don't know, but it sounds like the Project Q is not going to have any kind of storage device or anything like that. So if it's only going to be a streaming device, why not let us stream whatever game we can stream to our PS5? Does that make sense?
Here's another thing though. It's like Sony wants a piece of the mobile or the handheld market, but they don't want to jump in fully. So this is just like you can play it at home and it'll be great because if someone else is using the TV, then you can, use the small screen for playing games, which I'll make another point. And I know that not everybody has the luxury of having multiple TVs, but how many of the hosts here have multiple TVs in their house? I mean, I know that a lot of people have I think, Matt and his wife, V, they have separate setups for each of them to play. How many of us, as far as the host and people in the chat can answer, have multiple TVs in the house?
I have 5.
You rich fuck. Yield?
Ones that I use or in total?
In total.
So I've got, 1, 2, 3 flat screens because we bought one a couple years ago so my wife could watch her cross-stitch stuff while she's cross-stitching. So there's 3 there. I still have my 2 tube TVs. So that's 5, and I think my wife may have hers around here somewhere. So we got 3 that we use and 3 that is sitting around.
And we have 3 at the house. And again, I'm not trying to say that everybody always has multiple TVs. Some people may just have one, and that's that. And some people may have 0. I'm not trying to make any social commentaries, but at least in this test case, and I think in the case of some of the people in our community that we hear from regularly, if somebody wants to use a TV, there's another TV in the house to go use. Now the argument could be that, well, my wife wants to watch TV, or my partner wants to watch TV, and then I would still want to play, but in the same room as them, so something like the Q would be worth it, or I would use the Q at that moment, but still at the same time, isn't that like a small case scenario? Isn't that a small percentage when that's actually going to happen?
Well, me and Daryl were talking when the Project Q was officially announced, and what you just described is actually, where we thought the Project Q would be the best is Ashley's watching TV, but you got to get the last trophy in Slay the Spire. She could watch her shows on TV while you're sitting on the couch next to her and, be able to play right there, and you don't have to worry about the TV. And the only reason I have multiple TVs in my house is I have one in the living room. I have one in my studio that I play on when I'm streaming. I got the one in Sweet Mama D's room, and I have one in my bedroom, which I don't even use. And then I have another one, which I could use, but, I know this is going to make me sound very bad, but it has a slight scratch on the screen, so I replaced it. TV still works perfectly fine. You can't see the scratch unless you're watching a hockey game. But yeah, so I have that TV as well.
But again, you're getting less functionality than the Switch has, buying 2 devices and spending a lot more money than a Switch.
I'm not arguing that point. I think
it's still a bad. Maybe in concept it's fine, but it looks like a bad idea when you actually sit and think about it.
Right now, I like the idea of the Project Q, but I'm really reserving my judgment on it until we get further details on it. Because all we really know about the Project Q right now is that you stream games from your PS5. We don't know any other features or any other functions. All we know is it's a DualSense cut in half with an 8-inch screen in between it, and it streams from your PS5. That's all we know. We don't have a price point. We don't have a release date. We don't know any functionality. We don't know if it has onboard storage. We don't know nothing. So I'm holding my judgment back. But as of right now, what we're looking at, it does not make sense for somebody to buy a Project Q unless they're in a situation where they don't have a TV and their significant other wants to watch something on TV, but you still want to play your game. That if I can't take it out of the house, if I can't do anything else with it, if I can't put store games on it, it doesn't make sense for anybody to buy one right now. And Matt G says the Project Q is ugly as sin. And Stalin says it's Project questionable. Matt G also says the price of the Q will be crucial. Sorry. He says we're always complaining. We're always something to quickly type in all chat to troll the other team. I don't know. Something about the old team, and if they were playing during a match. I
guarantee this thing at least costs $200.
I'm figuring it's probably going to cost $250. Anything over $300, it's dead in the water, no matter what the functionality is.
But you're again. I think it's dead in the water as is because you're asking people to buy. Look how much Sony is putting out there. Hey, we want you to buy a VR. Hey, we want you to buy a PlayStation 5. Hey, we want you to buy Project Q. Like, how much money do you think we got, Sony?
Hey, we want you to stream your games.
That you have to have a PS5 for.
Well, and also, wouldn't you have to have a membership, like one of the top tier memberships of PlayStation Plus to do that?
Yeah, you have to have the top essentials membership.
Hold on, wait. You talk about streaming from the PS5, or you talk about Project Q?
Project Q.
Project Q requires no subscription because you're going to your console. You're not accessing the internet to play games. You're playing games that you already own. So no, well, you know what? I say there should not be a subscription to do that. Because if they put it,
you can only play games that you own.
Yeah, like okay. Basically,
what about PlayStation Plus members?
PlayStation Plus has nothing to do with Project Q, as far as I know.
Yeah, but if you have access to those catalog of games on your 5, and then they say, no, you can't use these on the Q, is that not another knock against the Q?
No. Whatever you can do on your 5, all the Q is doing is streaming what you could do from the 5. All the Q is basically a handheld TV screen for your 5. That's all it is. As far as I know, as far as I understand it.
Okay, but on my PlayStation 5, I can access PlayStation Premium and the catalogs of games.
And you can too.
But then that would okay. Gotcha.
I'm trying to understand what you're confused about here.
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right, moving on. Our last story before we go into our questions. Sony expects Sony games to continue to hit PlayStation Plus later. Current strategy is working. This is coming from IGN and written by Ryan Dinsdale. Xbox Game Pass may get Microsoft exclusives day one, but don't expect the same to be happening for PlayStation anytime soon, as Sony has said its current PlayStation Plus strategy is working. Speaking to GI.biz, Sony's vice president and global head of subscriptions, Nick Maguire, indicated Sony won't copy the Game Pass approach to exclusives despite the rise of $70 games, and revealing that PlayStation is testing PlayStation 5 streaming, as we were just talking about. Sony instead opts to not release its first-party games on the Plus on launch, with the likes of Horizon Forbidden West coming out a year after. Quote, we're happy with our strategy. Putting games in a bit later in the life cycle has meant that we could reach more customers 12, 18, 24 months after they've released. We're seeing customers still get excited about those games and jumping in. For us, that's working. Occasionally, there will be an opportunity to invest in a day and date like Stray, and we will jump on those when they come in. But for us, letting those first-party games go out to the platform outside the service first, that's working, and that's what will continue to be our strategy moving forward. End quote. I think this is smart. We've covered this a couple times, but I think that's smart. Let the games go out there, sell, and then when the sales die down, put it back out, put it on Plus, and let more people experience it.
Well, it's like a movie studio, like Paramount. They are, put Transformers out in the theaters, and more studios are doing, hey, exclusively in movie theaters now because we're, getting further and further away from the start and the core of the pandemic. And then later they're putting them on their streaming services. Disney's doing the same thing. Hey, go see it in theaters. And once it's run its course, we're going to put it on our streaming service. Notice that Sony mentioned Stray, and when we have opportunities like that, we'll jump on them. Essentially, when we have a third-party studio that's willing to do that for us, we'll do that.
But we're not doing the first party.
Yeah, but not the first party. Go out and buy that first, and then we'll... although Destruction All-Stars, was that not first-party Sony, and that was free for Plus its first month?
All-Stars?
Destruction Derby All-Stars. That's what I was asking.
Was that first party?
I don't remember.
I'll look it up. I think maybe it was.
I'm looking at it right now. Destruction Derby All-Stars. According to them, it was made by Lucid Games. So no, that would not be first party. It was published by Sony, but it was developed by Lucid Games.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I think this is working. Rick says, can't blame them. It's definitely working for Sony. Xbox is doing what works for them. I'll be interested to see how Game Pass subscriptions jump in September. Every extra sub is 55 lost because people aren't buying Starfield. And Silent says, all depends on how long Starfield subs stay for. Yeah. I mean, look. Starfield, I think, is going to be a ongoing game. I don't think it's going to be like, you can get this done in a month.
Hopefully not with how long it's taken them to develop. And that's not a shot at them because, I mean, a game like that needs time in the oven. But... Well, I mean, you're not going to be able to do everything like very quickly.
Well, I'm referencing that. It's to say like God of War Ragnarok was in development for 3 years, and essentially you could beat that game in a day. I don't think that's going to be the case with Starfield. I think Starfield's going to be an ongoing game that you're going to want to have a subscription for. But I mean, we've talked about this in the past, guys. Like, me personally, I don't see how Game Pass makes them money. Because for $60 a year, which is the price less than the price of a full game now, you have access to all these games. So every game after the first, you're losing money. And especially when you, I think Microsoft paid themselves in the corner when they said all our first party games are going to go there. That means every studio that Microsoft owns, including Bethesda, if it's going to be Activision Blizzard, Ninja Theory. All these studios are working, and they're never going to see a profit on their game. I don't see how this is sustainable. Now, I'm not a business manager. Like, I didn't study business in college, but I personally don't see how that's sustainable.
Well, what they'll do is they'll get you in at the price they have now, and then they'll gradually raise the price on Game Pass. That's what they'll do. That's what happens to all subscription services. They raise the prices.
Okay, Rick says I'll have it all done in a month. Stalin says $60 a year. It's $9.99 a month for the base. Yeah, but isn't it $60 for the year? Like you could buy a 12-year subscription for $60. I could be wrong about that. I'm not in that ecosystem. Matt G says Microsoft would have to put out games to have day and date Game Pass games, and and Rick says, or free if you use reward points and spend 5 minutes a day earning them. There you go. I thought you could buy a year of Game Pass for $60. I could be wrong.
Well, the $15 tier for Game Pass is what you get to the ultimate. You get to play on PC and Xbox Xbox S. And
yeah,
X.
but that's $15 a month.
Yeah, I know. No, it's the ultimate. I mean, again, I'm not Tricky, and I neither one of us are business people. But my God, 60. If it is $60 a year for Game Pass, like I mean, Stylen said it, so I believe Stylen, but. That's one game. You're essentially paying for one game a year, but getting to play whatever Microsoft puts out. Now, granted, a lot of years Microsoft may put out one game, but yeah, I mean the reason that Microsoft can do it and other people can't is because of how much money Microsoft has. It's the amount of money they have is massive. Of course, they could buy Activision Blizzard, but I don't see how Nintendo or anybody else could do that.
Okay.
Mighty Nintendo, Sony, like nobody else could do that. It's just simply because Microsoft has just as a company as a whole, not just a video game arm, but as a whole, has so much damn money.
Okay, I am disclaimer. I'm not saying this is an accurate source right now, but I just Googled Xbox Game Pass 12-month key, and on cdkeys.com, I could buy a year of Game Pass Ultimate for £99 and 99 pence, which I think translates into about $120. So even if it's even at 120, 2 games after the second game, they're not making any money. Now I know that's not the best source, but that's what I Googled, and that's where I can get a key for right now. So, because Stylen says I don't know, he's only ever seen a month at a time.
So a month at a time is $10 a month, right?
Correct.
Well, then it'd be 120 a year.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not 60; it's 120.
Yes.
Okay, just want to clarify that, and that's for just the basic. That's not for the ultimate.
Yeah. Oh, that's for yes, but the key I'm looking at is for ultimate. And like I said, it's on CD Keys, which they could be discounting it. This isn't coming from the source. But yes. For because I can get in Europe, USA, or global, and it's all £99. So I don't know. I'm fully saying this may not be a legit source, but I just did a quick Google and that's what popped up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with how much people complain about the price of $70 games, and I'm not saying that people aren't you aren't allowed to complain about that. If you want to, that's fine. Have your voice heard. But as much as people talk about the price of games going up, the idea that people are having a subscription to Game Pass and then going to buy these games on top of that is ludicrous. I don't believe it. Show me the numbers, show me the data, but I don't think people are doing that. They're going to have their subscription to Game Pass, because why else would you buy those games afterwards? I wouldn't do it, and I don't think either one of you would either.
All right, just for another source, I went to Amazon for Microsoft Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for a 3-month membership. It's $41.50. So that sounds like you're getting like a $2.50 discount for 3 months. So I don't know. Either way, I mean, it doesn't seem to me like it's adding up to what Microsoft should be making off at least their first party games. So, okay, Styler just says, Tricky, that's it. At Best Buy, they got 3 months for $44.99 at Best Buy, so no savings there. And then he says Amazon probably knocks a bit off the price because they're somewhat of a large company. I don't know, bro. Let's see. I don't even know if this is sold by Microsoft. Or, excuse me. Okay, it's not even being sold by Amazon. This is being sold by a third party on Amazon. So, yeah, I don't know. But even at $120, that's still, like I said, it's less than the price of 2 games. So, all right. You've been kind of quiet. You have anything to say about any of this?
No.
I love you.
I'm just over here smiling about how you despise Game Pass. Or sorry, they despise. You don't understand how Microsoft's making any money off of Game Pass.
I mean, do you feel like I'm wrong? Like I'm totally off base?
No, you're not totally off base.
Okay. Now.
But I'm not done.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But yet, here you are, a full supporter of the PlayStation Plus Premium.
Because it's not the same thing.
It's pretty darn close. No, it's not, but it's pretty darn close.
No.
The only difference is Sony isn't putting their first-party games day and date.
Correct, which I think is very important.
It is, but it's still extremely similar. Because
go ahead.
Because if you don't go out and buy Spider-Man 2 when it comes out and you just want to sit back and wait 6 months to a year before they put it on PlayStation Plus Premium, you are in fact paying what would be 2 games for a catalog of new games, depending on the year of what comes out. You're paying 1 to 2 game prices, and you're getting a whole bunch of new games. You're getting them a year later, but you're still getting them, and you didn't buy them brand new.
True, but the difference.
Okay, what's the difference other than you got to wait a year?
Because Sony is making enough money off their games in that year or two that at the point where they're putting it on Plus, and I'm not going to say like a company is not looking to make a profit, but at that point, just in my thought process, Sony is no longer worried about making a profit off their game. They're now at the point where they're saying, okay, we've made our money. We sold our 10, 12, 15 million copies, whatever the game is. Now let's put it on the service and let everybody enjoy it because they're no longer concerned about making money off that game. Where Microsoft comes out with the new Halo or the new Gears of War or the new Forza or the new Hellblade, from day one, they're not making a penny on that game. Where Sony, in their 2-year gap, has made their millions of dollars on that game, probably recouped all, if not more, than their development cost. They're now making a profit. So at some point, they're going, okay, we've made our profit. We no longer need to make money. Let's put it on the service. Where Microsoft spends $100 million, and I'm just throwing a number out there, on the new Halo, and they never make a penny back of making Halo. That's, to me, is a significant difference in their strategies. Did I lose you, Yield?
No.
Okay. I just expected you to say something back.
No.
I view it differently. I see what you're saying, but I view it completely differently. All right, so we're at that point of the show where we get to play Joe's favorite soundbite.
Time to check my social media, yeah.
By the way, Rick, thank you for joining us. He's going to bed, so take care, Rick. Appreciate you. All right.
Later, Rick.
Matt G says, will any of you be going for the Final Fantasy 16 Platinum? I already know their answers because they're not even going to play Final Fantasy 16.
I ain't even going to be playing it.
I don't think I'm going to be going after the Final 16 Platinum. I also don't think I'm going to be playing the game. But from what I heard, it takes 2 full playthroughs to get the Platinum. So that's definitely not encouraging. All right, so Rick has a bunch of questions here. Too bad Rick wasn't able to stick around. We'll go around the room. We'll start with Yield first, then we'll get Alex's answer. First question. First alcoholic beverage.
Don't drink.
Mine was a honey brown ale.
Okay. I'm simple, a Budweiser, but I also very rarely drink. If I have a beer a year, that's probably a lot. Next question. Best live action Batman. Michael Keaton.
Yeah, it's a good. Well, since Rick's not here, I was going to ask: are you talking just Batman, or are you talking the whole ensemble, or what? So I'll go with the question at hand. I will go with just the best Batman, and that's Michael Keaton.
Well, he also the full question was best live action Batman's, Spider-Man and Superman. I was just gonna go individually. So,
well, no, I was asking like the difference, but were you wanting the whole package? Who played both Bruce Wayne and Batman the best? Or are you wanting just Batman? You wanting Bruce Wayne? Because there is a difference.
Yeah, I think Michael Keaton was the best Bruce Wayne and Batman. But I mean, Kevin Conroy is Batman. That's just my opinion. But
no, I agree with your Kevin Conroy. I disagree with you with the package as a whole.
Okay, Alex, best live action Batman.
I think, and we're talking about an actor, not a movie.
Yes.
Yes, best actor who played Batman.
I did like Val Kilmer as Batman, but I mean, I think you got to go with Michael Keaton.
All right. Just because I know it's gonna be in the comments, Ben Affleck was definitely not the fucking best Batman. Daryl, don't even try to come in our comments with that.
No, he was not. Michael Keaton's the best Batman. I like Val Kilmer as Bruce Wayne.
All right, so same vein, best live action Spider-Man.
The only one I've seen was the Tobey Maguire. I haven't even seen Tom Holland yet, so that's all I can comment on.
Alex?
I haven't really watched the Tom Holland ones. Didn't watch the Andrew Garfield ones, so I mean, I guess that leaves Tobey Maguire. Because Spider-Man 2, I mean, the original Spider-Man was good, and Spider-Man 2 was really good. So,
I think Tom Holland is not going to roll out. Tom Holland's the best live-action Spider-Man. All right, and best live-action Superman. There are only 2 answers to this, and if you guys give me a different answer, I swear to God, I'm shutting this internet off and we're going away.
I actually know there are 3. But the only one I've seen is Christopher Reeves.
Alex?
I cannot remember his name now, but who did Man of Steel?
Henry Cavill.
That one.
Yes. Okay. What was your third option, Yield?
Christopher Reeve's father played Superman.
Okay.
Which one was the Bryan Singer Superman? Brandon Routh?
Yeah.
You want to include him in this?
Brandon Routh and what was the other one? I can't think of the guy's name. Dean Cain, and then there was the one that played on the CW series. He's pretty good. Can't think of his real name. Dean Cain was a good one too. So yeah, I guess there was 3 acceptable answers. All right, moving on. Solid Snake or Sam Fisher?
Solid Snake.
Yeah, I not having played either franchise, I'm just gonna go with the answer that's gonna piss Tricky off, and it's Sam Fisher.
Solid Snake. All right. So this is a 2-part question. Give both the answers at the same time. If you won $1 million, what is the first thing you would buy? They want 1 sensible answer and 1 crazy answer.
So who are you going with?
You first.
Oh. My sensible answer was I really wouldn't buy anything. I'd pay off my house and stuff.
So you'd buy your house?
Yeah, I would. I'd buy it back from the bank. Yes.
Okay.
Splurgy. I'd probably go out and get me probably like a Cobra Mustang.
Oh, I know you saw that video today, Yield.
I did, but those I've one of the cars I've always wanted.
Oh, Eleanor was so sexy. Alex, your answers.
So I'm like Yield, and my sensible answer is that, and what I would do in real life is I wouldn't buy anything because I'm not counting on these things like Social Security when I'm older. So I'm trying to save up and, have something to take care of myself and my family when I'm too old to work. But if I was gonna buy, just be crazy. I'm not gonna like. I don't believe in buying expensive cars. I have a Toyota. I don't really want a big expensive car because you're gonna take it on the road and it's gonna get hit by rocks and it's gonna get dents and scratches and all that stuff. So, what I would spend it on though is probably just like something silly with like a golf cart to drive around the neighborhood and just kind of like on a nice spring or summer evening here in Kentucky, just drive around the neighborhood and at slow speeds and enjoy it. Because apparently everybody else in my neighborhood's got damn golf carts because you see 10-year-old kids driving golf carts around and getting them stuck in a pond and getting in cars' ways. So,
yeah, I'd save it. Probably give some to charity. And the crazy answer is I would find a way to build a Proving Gamer headquarters, move Alex and Yield in, and do this full time with you guys.
Wait, are you trying to move us to New York?
New York or wherever.
I'm
trying to get out of New York.
You ain't getting me up to New York, I'll tell you.
I was gonna say, yeah, you're not moving me out of the Midwest, man.
Listen, I want to get out of New York right now because some of the crazy ass shit's going on. I think I talked to you guys about it. The commuter pricing, congestion pricing. They want to start charging people $23 to go over a free bridge to reduce the amount of traffic in Manhattan, which I think is absolutely fucking stupid because Manhattan is like the Mecca of New York. But yeah, my real answer is I would save it, probably give something to charity. My crazy answer would be build a Proven Gamer headquarters and find a way to get Alex and Yield all in the same location so we can do this full time and, maybe not once a week do the show like 7 times a week.
7 times a week?
Yeah,
we gotta sleep, man.
And we'll hire an editor so you never have to edit it again.
Well, that's honestly, that would be probably maybe a more sensible thing for me to do with the money if I wanted is like, hire someone to edit the show so I don't have to lose sleep or don't have to lose game time. But honestly, like, I feel like $1 million doesn't go as far as people think these days. So saving it's definitely the smart thing to do.
So Roberto wants to know, what are your recommendations for games to play while flying? It can be on any platform or any game. He says he played Skyrim while flying home from Seattle and Mario Odyssey when he went to E3 back in 2018. So what's a good game to play while you're flying? We'll go with Alex first. You stepped up? Go ahead.
I was going to say, I've always taken my Vita or my 3DS with me on the times that I've flown, and I've never used them. I just end up sleeping or kind of just zoning out.
I'm about to take a train ride to Canada in less than a month. And I was like, should I bring my Switch and actually play Zelda? Or should I bring my Vita? And I'm like, no, because I'm probably going to sleep because I'm going to be too frustrated that I can't smoke for 8 hours. So, yeah.
I would enjoy the scenery from a train, but that's just me.
I would too, but at some point, my brain's going to kick in going, hey, you got to smoke a cigarette. And at least if I can sleep through the 8 hours, then I'm not worried about smoking a cigarette. Alex, your answer?
So, I mean, it'd be definitely on the Switch because honestly, like, I can't think of anything. Well, I mean, you can't really with a PlayStation right now unless you can't play on the 5 or 5 games on anything right now. So you would have to take a Vita or a PSP. So I would say a Switch because I think the Switch, because of the way they designed the console to be, used in handheld mode and in, TV mode, that they kind of figured that a lot of their games are going to be playable and enjoyable in handheld mode. Some of them you still want to play on a big screen, but a lot of them, Mario Odyssey, Super Smash Brothers, Ultimate, a lot of even Pokemon probably are just fine playing on a small screen. So honestly, one of the Pokemon games, Super Smash Brothers is always a good time. It'd be fun to play.
What game? What game are you narrowing it down to?
I'll say one of the new Pokemon games. They got new Pokemon games out. You got to dump a lot of hours into training your team and catching all the Pokemon. So it's Pokemon Scarlet or Violet.
Okay. I'm going to run to the bathroom when I ask this last question, so try to vamp a little bit. But Kalai wants to know, when playing a game, what is the best type of damage? Bleeding, burning, frostbite, or poison?
Yield will go. I'm
sorry, what?
Wait. Read that again. Start from the start.
when playing a game, what is the best type of damage? Bleeding, burning, frostbite, or poison?
So wait, are we talking about what we're doing to somebody else, an enemy, or are we talking about like on us, like what happens to us?
I'm assuming it's on an enemy. All right, I'm running to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
So it really would depend on what type of enemy you're fighting against. I mean, if you're fighting against somebody with armor on, you want to use acid. If you're fighting against somebody with just flesh, you want to use fire, or you could use bleeding.
Yeah, but the problem with fire yield is that they can run at you and get you on fire.
Well, that's the downside to it. And then freezing damage, I don't know. Never really played a game that necessarily had a lot of freezing damage over time.
Well, poison was good, especially in Bloodborne, because poison helped me get past some of the tougher enemies by, just doing passive damage on them while they were poisoned. Of course, the problem with poison and like all this other stuff is that there's only a certain amount of time that they're under these effects because it runs out. Freezing, though, if you freeze an enemy, you can attack them while they're frozen for extra damage. And even one of the bosses in Resident Evil 4, I can't remember the name right now, but it's the boss that you fight under in kind of the base, well, not the basement, but the cave system of the mansion, or the castle, I should say. You do massive damage while the enemy's frozen. So, I mean, that is one good thing about freezing. Like, usually I think when I think of freezing an enemy, it's not necessarily like a frostburn damage, but really just that you freeze them, stop them so they can't attack you, and then you attack them for generally more damage because they're frozen.
All right, I'm back.
So I would say freezing.
All right, Yield, you give your answer?
I did.
What was your answer?
I said it depends on your enemy.
Oh, come on. Don't give a cop-out answer like that.
It wasn't a cop-out answer. It was an explained answer. It depends on your enemy.
All right. I'm going to say bleeding, but I'm basing this off of playing the Division because I think bleeding is it inflicts more damage. Like the burning, they could roll or, get out of fire. The frostbite, poison, same thing as bleeding, but I think bleeding is actually better. So those are my answers. All right. So how are we doing on time? Okay, we got a half an hour. We're going to cover the Ubisoft Forward, gentlemen. Mostly because I want to get into the conversation with Yield about a certain game. Yield, you know what's coming, don't you?
I know what's coming.
Okay. All right, so Ubisoft Forward happened on, was it Monday? Monday. So a week and 2 days ago. All right, so they offered a scissor reel showing off Jet Set Radio and Halo crossovers. That's going to be coming on September 26th. Next thing they showed was The Division Resurgence is coming this fall. That's a mobile game. I played a little bit. It's actually not bad for a mobile game, but I do recommend getting a controller for your phone if you're going to be playing it. Skull and Bones closed beta is coming in August. The long-awaited Skull and Bones is getting a closed beta from August 25th to August 28th. You can register now on the game's official website. The beta announcement was accompanied by a live musical performance set to a montage of Skull and Bones gameplay. I could have done without the montage and the live musical performance. But, Yield, are you going to try to get into this beta?
Well, I hear it's PC only.
Okay.
But, yes, I did try. Yeah, I did sign up.
Okay. X Defiant is coming this summer. It has a open beta from June 21st to June 23rd on the PS5 series and PC. Sorry, Styler just threw me off with this comment in the chat. It's going to have 14 maps, 5 factions, 5 modes, and 24 weapons. And in year one, Ubisoft will add 4 more factions, 12 new weapons, and 12 new maps. Stalin says the Skull and Bones beta, he goes, I bet the beta will get lost in sea and not arrive on time.
Damn.
Sorry, that threw me off when I was reading it. Captain Laserhawk, a Blood Dragon remix, got its first trailer. Did any of you guys play Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon?
No.
No, sir.
Okay, moving on. Next thing, the Crew Motorfest is arriving this September. It has a release date of September 14th. This is the third installment in the Crew franchise, but it's the first to see the series leave the continental U.S. Instead, the Crew Motorfest takes takes drivers to Hawaii. That's in the U.S., sir. Where it leaves
the continental U.S.
Yeah.
We started in New York. We went to the Central Plains, and then now we're in Hawaii, I believe.
In addition to cars, players can expect to control bikes, boats, and aircraft. All right. So, quick side note here. Did either of you guys play the Crew and Crew 2?
Well, I was going to, but someone advised me to not.
To not play which one? Either?
Yes.
Okay. So, the Crew 1...
That would be you.
The Crew 1, I liked because it was a story game. The Crew 2 went totally open world. It's like, go do whatever. It felt like, Riders Republic, where you're like, oh, you want to go fly a plane? Go fly a plane. If you want to go ride a bike, go ride a bike. AT-wheeler or ATV, go do that. The Crew, it feels like they departed, and I don't know if I'm going to be playing this because the Crew 2, I played maybe like an hour of it. I was like, this is not what I want to be playing. So, all right, moving on, unless you guys want to talk about that.
No.
Okay. Assassin's Creed Codename Jade, which is the mobile game, is coming. It's entering a public test later this month. As a first in the series, players can fully customize the appearance of their assassin, including gender, clothes, and more. The game takes place during China's Qin Dynasty, between the events of Odyssey and Origins. All right. If you guys want to say something, just speak up, because I'm just going to keep moving.
No, you're good.
Assassin's Creed Nexus, which is featuring the return of the classic assassins. This is the VR game. It will feature a pronged story starring a trio of return assassins, Assassin's Creed 2's Ezio, Odyssey's Cassandra, and AC3's Connor. The game takes place in Assassin's Creed's classic stealth assassination gameplay and brings to the first-person perspective where players will still be able to use the hidden blade, sword, smoke bombs, bow, and more. The game is coming to the MetaQuest 2 and does not have a release date. So, I'm going to say this because I'm the only VR person. I don't think Assassin's Creed in VR is a smart idea. I think that's a lot of motion sickness.
Well, I mean, if you're jumping off a high place into a big old pile of hay, that may be kind of terrifying.
That, I don't know. The only VR game that ever gave me motion sickness was a Call of Duty flight sim where I was flying into space. That's the only time I ever got queasy in VR. And it's just because I think what it is the idea of walking around without your feet moving sets your brain off, and that made me queasy. Stalin says there's a lot of bangers at this Ubisoft Forward. They're good games. I mean, I'm not shitting on it. But yeah. And the fact that this is not coming to VR 2, I think is a big loss. If you're just putting us on the MetaQuest. Okay. Next up is Assassin's Creed Mirage, which is a direct combat backup solution. Ubisoft shared an extended look at Assassin's Creed Mirage gameplay, showing off the back-to-basic stealth-centric gameplay. The game is focused on the concept that there is always a discreet way to take out our enemies, whether it's through Basim's hidden blade, blow darts, or smoke bombs. The game takes place in 19th century Baghdad and will follow Basim in a, quote, tragic coming-of-age story, end quote, and it's coming out on October 12th. Matt G says VR2 is already being left in the dust. All right, so I hope you guys saw the trailer for this. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown was announced. The announcement last week at Summer Game Fest, Ubisoft unveiled gameplay for Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. The 2D action Metrovania is a semi-open world, and more areas open up as you gain new powers and improve your skills. We saw a lot of the game's first fast-paced sword combat with plenty of flashy finishing moves on some of the tougher enemies. Time powers are also present, but sometimes your enemy will use them against you. And the game is launching on January 18th of next year on all platforms. Did you guys watch this trailer?
Yeah, I wasn't impressed.
I watched it last week when we talked about it initially on the.
This was a different one. So
it was?
Yeah, so you didn't watch this one.
No, but I got enough of the gist of the game from the first trailer. I don't know what more I could learn from this new one.
Okay. I mean, there was a little bit more detailed, but I mean, you got the general gist of it, so it doesn't really matter.
Like, I mean, the gameplay is what you're going to pull you into this game. I mean, yes, the way it looks, but more so the gameplay is.
Right. But what?
And I know, like.
All right, so I haven't listened to last week's show. So what were your thoughts on the Lost Crown?
I don't remember what I said last week. Probably that I need to see more of it.
Okay, so
but I wasn't overly impressed. I mean, from what I can remember, to make just a quick comment, it looked kind of like a God of War type combat, which that immediately turns me off. I'm talking like PS3 God of War combat.
Yeah, I know what you meant. All right, Alex, what were your thoughts on the Lost Crown?
No, I mean, I thought it looked good. I liked the fast-paced action. I liked the platforming, the way the game looked, and also, like I said, some of the more pumped-up visuals, like when you're using the bow and how flashy it looked. I thought it all looked really, really cool, and a different, more, I don't want to say prehistoric, but definitely a different take that kind of harkens back to when games were a little bit more simple with the gameplay style. Like kind of like there were some Tomb Raider games, and I can't remember the something of light. Yield, you may be able to help me. Where there was like a top-down twin-stick shooter. Do you remember that, Yield? There were two of them.
Not exactly.
Okay, I'll see if I can find it. But basically, like, you have a certain game, it's like a 3D action game, and then you take it down to smaller scale. Like, sometimes that works really well, and in this game, it looks really cool. Actually looks better to me than a full, like, brand new giant 3D Prince of Persia would be.
Okay. Hold on, sorry. All right.
Oh, Yield, one of them was Guardian of Light. That was one of the Tomb Raider games.
Okay.
Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light.
All right, the next game we have is Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora got a release date. It's coming December 7th of this year. The first-person action adventure will see players control a Na'vi trained by the RDA to fight against their own people, but the Na'vi eventually reconnects with her heritage, learning Na'vi weapons and skills to prepare for the RDA's inevitable return. Ubisoft showed off a trailer and gameplay breakdown as the long-awaited title, showing gameplay that reminded us much of Far Cry. Did either one of you guys watch this trailer?
No.
No. Because I had forgotten the Ubisoft experience even happened. The Ubisoft Forward even happened.
I had seen the list of games that was announced, and I was just like, okay. I'm glad I didn't waste my time watching it.
It was a quality show.
It doesn't sound like it.
The Avatar game I was disappointed in because it's being made by the same people that made The Division. They went first person with this, which was Strike 1. Strike 2 was, I never really got into any of the Avatar movies. Like, I watched the first one. I could watch the second one because it's on some streamer device I have right now. I don't know which one.
It's Disney Plus.
It's on Disney Plus. But I like, it's not a bad movie, but I didn't connect to it. So I had no real desire to play Avatar, but it was being made by Massive, so I was willing to give it a shot. But once they announced it was first person, I was like, I'm out. So I didn't really care much. All right. So, Yield, we've gotten to that moment.
The one where you were wrong.
You just want to drill that home, don't you?
I do, only because of your Facebook post.
Okay. Star Wars Outlaws got a 10-minute gameplay showcase. Star Wars Outlaws was announced as part of the 2023's Xbox Game Showcase, but Ubisoft waited for its own presentation to share its first look at gameplay. Outlaws is in development at Massive Entertainment, same people that made The Division. And I'm only saying that because that's going to lead into Yield's criticism of me. And Ubisoft is calling it the first open-world Star Wars game. The gameplay showcase showed off combat, including how adorable companion Nix can help protagonist Kay Vess in the heat of battle. We also see Kay riding a speeder, deciding if she wanted to bribe an Imperial officer, and eventually hopping into a ship to escape into hyperspace. Yield, the floor is yours for now.
So the only reason I'm picking on Tricky was because I when I saw this, Star Wars. I follow Star Wars on Facebook, and they posted it. I was like, oh, this looks really cool. And I posted Trophy Horse Chat. Tricky quickly. It's Division meets Star Wars, and he just left it at that. And because Mass is making it. And then I got to thinking after he said that, and I got to thinking a couple hours later, that's like saying, with no explanation, just it's Star Wars meets Division, or Division meets Star Wars. That's like saying, without never playing Spider-Man, that it's Infamous meets Spider-Man. It's like saying Killzone or Horizon is Killzone. It's a bad comparison just because it's that company making it without an explanation.
Well, Infamous to Spider-Man is very similar. Because you could argue and say Infamous and Spider-Man play exactly the same.
Okay,
but with different powers. Let's be clear, with different powers.
Okay, but Horizon's nothing like Killzone.
Well, that's a third person to a first person. You can't make that comparison either.
Okay. Okay.
Hold on. Let me defend myself for a second.
Dawn is nothing like Siphon Filter or Uncharted Golden Abyss, and those are all third persons.
Fair enough.
All made by Ben Studio.
Let me defend myself for a second here.
Go right ahead. I'm not saying you're wrong. I was just limited explanation is what I'm getting you on.
Okay. All the rumors when I heard that Massive was making a Star Wars and Avatar game. All I heard, the rumors, and I'm in several Facebook groups, several chat rooms, several forums. All I kept hearing was that they were making a Division open world games for service game, and it was instead of just being in a Division universe, it was going to be in the Star Wars universe. So we were going to run into Luke and Leia and Han Solo and all the characters, and it was going to be a big open world, and it was going to be based in, that kind of format. I'm glad I'm wrong. This does look like the shit. I don't know if it was you or your brother, but somebody says, let's hope this doesn't turn into 1313.
I think it was both of us, because I made a comment after. So I made a comment after the gameplay trailer, because I posted the Microsoft's cinematic trailer.
Right.
And that was where the Division comment was made. Then
Yes.
when Ubisoft did their 10-minute gameplay trailer, I posted, let's hope it doesn't get 1313.
Yes. But this game looks phenomenal.
I want to see more, but I was impressed with what I saw, especially how they have a reputation system. So I'm curious to see that same section that we saw, but not get spotted, to see, does the reputation still go down because you stole, or does it stay the same because they never saw you?
I also want to see what happens if you do bribe.
If you bribe the Imperials, yeah.
I think
I'm glad they picked don't bribe, because that's what I was thinking of. F the Empire. You don't give them a slice of your pie. Get out of here.
And it's also worth noting, this takes place after Jedi.
No,
I'm sorry.
takes place between Jedi or Empire and Jedi.
Yes, I'm sorry. That's what I meant.
Which makes sense because in the cinematic trailer you see Solo frozen in carbonite. So I was wondering if that was a flashback.
You said that. I looked at both these trailers. I never saw that. Which trailer you talk about? The 10-minute trailer?
The cinematic trailer, one from
Microsoft
showed right towards the end. There's a quick flash of Solo sitting horizontal, like before he got pushed into Slave One. Yes, I said Slave One because that's what it's called. And so
you're gonna get us canceled.
that's all right. I'll go down with that ship. But yeah, there was, and that made me think of, well, is it a flashback? What time period are we in? And then they confirmed, I don't know, Monday or Tuesday after the gameplay trailer was released, that it's between Empire and Jedi.
All right, I'm gonna have to go back and watch it because I completely missed that. I mean, not that it really matters because we've confirmed the timeline, but yes. All right, Alex, did you get a chance to look at this trailer?
I haven't watched anything from the Microsoft Showcase, and in general, like, if I had wanted to play this game, I would have got back to look at it. My thing is, I've got Star Wars fatigue. We haven't even watched any of The Mandalorian Season 3. We're caught up with Season 2, but we didn't watch any of The Mandalorian Season 3. I haven't watched
Book of Boba Fett.
Haven't watched Book of Boba Fett. Haven't watched Andor. When the new movie trilogy comes out, I'll watch that. But I'm just kind of Star Wars'd out at this point. Blame Disney, because, we got all the Star Wars we could want and even more, but I just can't care about it. It's like Marvel and zombies and everything. You throw too much at me and I just get overfed, and I'm like, I got to cut it off.
Well, I hope you're not too Star Wars out that you're not checking out the new series on our Patreon, where me and Yield are going through each episode of The Mandalorian and talking about it.
Why would I want to hear you talk out of your ass about Star Wars?
Wow, you just destroyed. Oh my God.
That's funny. So, but I will say that I know that they said that this isn't the final version of the game. I thought that the character models could be better.
I don't know. I kind of like the character models.
I felt, for this being the 5 and Series S, that like when she walked through like the curtain, so to speak, it was a bunch of beads, but when she walked through that, it didn't affect her hair or nothing. And I know that was a minor thing compared to everything else, looked really good, but I was like, there's something off with the character model. It didn't feel like it flowed like everything else was flowing. My opinion, maybe I'm wrong, but I just happened to notice. I did like how you could leave from the surface and go straight to space.
I had to point out that was seamless too.
It was jumping in and out of hyperspace. That was cool. Although I was a little concerned with how they were getting ready to jump to hyperspace. All right. They barrel rolled out of the way of a TIE fighter shooting them and then jumped to hyperspace.
Okay.
I've always kind of wondered how that would work, because even in that time frame, you didn't do that. Even when they did it during, what was it, The Last Jedi, where they were light speed hopping, I was like, I don't see how you can do that, especially when we were told in A New Hope that, light speed jumping is not something that you just flick a switch and go. You got to let the computer calculate. As they're kind of was dodging in somewhat of a straight, they were flying in one direction, but swerving back and forth to dodge before they jumped to hyperspace. This one, they totally rolled out of the pattern that they were going in and then made a jump. Well, wouldn't the computer have to recalculate?
I would think so.
You're not in the same kind of straight line that you were going. And that's what made me think of when The Last Jedi, when they were all just light speed skipping. I'm like, you're not calculating. So who's to say you don't fly into a sun or fly into the middle of a planet before you jump out of hyperspace? Anyway, that was just me.
All right. Matt G made this comment a while ago, but he says he's with you, Yield. So I'm assuming
the light speed skipping. Yeah.
I think it was before the light speed. Light speed.
Oh, the light speed skipping. Oh, okay.
But yeah, I think this looks good, and I look forward to seeing more of it. I also want to give you a big tribute to Alice to messing up the shameless plug for our Patreon.
I didn't mess it up. It's still out there.
I thought it was funny.
Trying to
Because notice how he said you. He didn't say me.
Trying to promote things over here. And,
Well, Yield's asking all these questions that I never thought of when it comes to Star Wars. I just basically sit down, watch it, and just take it in with my eyes and accept whatever they tell me. Except for, massive plot holes. But Yield's thinking about all these things, and I...
Well, it was one of those things of, you see Star Wars as a kid, and Solo's sitting there explaining, Luke wants to jump into hyperspace, and he kind of smacked his hand when he went to flip the switch, and it's not like Dustin Crop's boy, So I'm like, oh, okay. And then in The Last Jedi, they're just light speed skipping. And immediately I'm like, what the hell? When did this change? This has been, even in, from even the even the prequels on up, there was a calculation that you did before you jumped to hyperspace. You just didn't flick a switch and off we go. It wasn't engage. And we're in warp drive. So anyway, it's just one of those little things I see, and I'm like, okay, I don't understand. Explain.
But overall, I thought the Ubisoft show was pretty good. I mean, obviously, just like any other show, there's not going to be something. Everything is not going to be for everybody. You pick and choose. But I do like the Assassin's Creed stuff. I did like the Star Wars stuff. I was a little disappointed with the Avatar, but that's mostly because it's first person. Definitely look forward to playing Prince of Persia. The crew.
I need to see more of it. I wasn't turned off, but I wasn't sold on it.
Did you watch the latest trailer of it?
As of when? I watched the one from last week when we did the show.
Okay, so
has there been a new one since?
Yes, there's the one that was released on the Ubisoft Forward that was on Monday.
Okay, I do not know if I saw that one or not.
Okay. Yeah, so that's basically the Ubisoft Forward. You guys also didn't cover the Xbox thing, which obviously because we're a PlayStation show, but there was a couple.
Well, you also told us not to.
Well, no, what I said was that if JT wanted to talk about some things, then you could. I guess I wasn't clear when I said that because I think you meant because you asked him if he wanted to talk anything about from the Summer Game Press, but I was referring to that, but that doesn't matter. But
other than Starfield, was there anything mentioned of any interest?
As I'm scrolling down to find the picture,
I did see something possibly about Hellblade 2.
Yes, Hellblade 2 was shown, but that was more of a cinematic. They did show gameplay, but
Hellblade.
Yeah, but there was no action. It was if you played the first Hellblade, it was basically like one of the situations where she's walking and voices are just going off in her head.
That's pretty much like most of the game, but yeah.
Yeah. And from what I didn't finish Hellblade, but there was not a lot of action in that game either.
No, but it's phenomenal. You're doing yourself a disservice by not finishing it.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's not that I didn't want to play it. It's because one of the trophies in Hellblade was you had to get all the collectibles in one run.
I had to play through it 3 times because I missed one on my second run. Yes.
Yeah, and I got to. I think it was.
Well, no, you don't have to get them all in one run.
I thought you did.
No, if you miss one, you can't go back. But when you go to your next playthrough, whatever you got on the first one counts. The thing is, you don't know what you missed. So you still have to go visit each spot. And when you walk up to it, you'll know whether or not you've collected it because it's shining.
Yeah, but
there's nothing that tells you missed the third one in chapter 3.
Well, when I got to chapter 3, there was some kind of pillar behind me. That was close to the screen that I had all of them up to that point except for one lit up, and I got discouraged and I just stopped playing it. But that's one game I got to go back to play. And I will say, if you are going to play Hellblade,
Got a headset on.
Wear a headset. It is absolutely normally I would say games like you don't have to wear a headset. Hellblade, it's a necessity.
It enhances it.
It is a necessity to get the full experience of the game. So I was scrolling through, and I put this in the Trophy Horse group. I said to love the pettiness after what the Xbox did after the PlayStation showcase. PlayStation did the same thing. So coming to PlayStation, there was Star Wars Outlaws, Persona 3, 33 Immortals, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, Payday 3, Necrom, the Cyberpunk DLC, Jusant, Still Wakes the Deep, Metaphor, and a Persona 5 Tactics game. Those are all coming.
See, I find it funny, but at the same time, when I saw the gameplay trailer, even though it was released at the Microsoft show, I never once thought that we weren't going to get it. I was like, oh, cool, Star Wars game.
There was actually a story wondering if Outlaws was coming to the 5 because it was released on the Xbox showcase, and then
my gosh, are people to kind of steal a line from Donnie? Are gamers that dumb nowadays? Is gaming media and gamers in general that dumb?
Okay, to be fair, Yield, because I agree with you. To be fair, it was announced at the Xbox show. And during the Ubisoft show, they never mentioned what consoles it was coming to. So it did start the speculation, is this an Xbox exclusive?
Okay. Well, then I guess I will give you a tiny bit of wiggle room in that then. But I don't see Disney nor Ubisoft making a Star Wars game where you're not going to try to put it on as many consoles as possible to get as much money as possible.
I agree 100%. So Stalin says, if there were only 500 different collectible guides for Hellblade, I know. I listen. I'm not saying I did the right thing. I'm saying I was playing the game, I got discouraged and got distracted and never went back. But that is a game I'm definitely going to go back for.
Tricky, how about doing this? So I played through the game, played through it, found what I could find, enjoyed the holy heck out of it, right?
Uh-huh.
And I went back with a guide, mind you.
And still missed it?
And I still missed one. Luckily, it was in the first third of the game, but I still missed one. So I had to go back and do it again. That is very discouraging. But I was so close to the platinum, I made myself do it.
Matt G says, Hellblade is also VR compatible? I did not know that.
The first one? I didn't know that.
I didn't know that. Maybe I'll play it on VR. Stalin also says Clockwork Revolution, which I got to tell you, when I watched that, I kind of felt like that was in the BioShock world. And a lot of people felt the same way.
Oh, yeah, that's the one that everybody thinks is in the BioShock world. I did see stuff about that.
Yeah.
Actually, the one game I'm kind of interested in was the one that's, besides Star Wars, was the one, oh God, I can't think of it. It's the one that's made by the creator of Dragon Ball Z. That one looked kind of cool. The art style and the goofiness and
all right,
saying something.
Stalin has a question for you, Yield, and this is a reference to you missing the collectible with the guide.
Okay.
He just wants to know how.
I'm wondering the same thing because I was following the guide step for step, and somehow I skipped over that section, or I don't know. I get to the end door and everything's lit up but one, and I'm like, I don't know what I did.
Alex, did you see the trailer for Clockwork Revolution? Because I know BioShock Infinite's one of your favorite games. Did we lose the Alex?
He probably stepped away.
Stalin says, you and Daryl following guides and still missing shit.
Hey, that's the first time that's happened to me, so I'm 99.5% accurate, so I'll take it. I'm disappointed, I'll take it.
All right, before we close out the show, Alex, are you back?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay. So did you happen to see the trailer for Clockwork Revolution? Because that was a lot of people feeling like that looks like BioShock Infinite, and I know that's one of your favorite games.
I did not. Here, I'll look it up real quick. Do we know who it's being made by?
I do not. But it's a short trailer, so you should be able to watch it. So what we'll do is we'll move on to our shout-outs. Yield, we'll start with you. Give to Alex some time to look at the trailer. And then
Okay.
we'll come back. We'll get Alex's opinion on Clockwork Revolution, and then we'll also get his shout out. So start with your shout, sir.
Shout out to Tricky and Alex for recording tonight. Shout out to I Am Styling and Rick and Matt G and anybody else that I missed who was hanging out in the Twitch chat. Shout out to Alex Nitro for Rocket League on Thursday. Shout out to Nitro for running through Zombie Army Trilogy with me to help me get that platinum. Shout out to Prepared Dire Scum, The Brain 76, and Homer Good Stuff for our continued march through co-op Fridays with the Borderlands pre-sequel. As always, a shout out to the Pimps and Madams of Whoredom. Thank you for downloading, listening, hanging out with us, whether it's Twitch chat or on the Facebook groups, or coming and joining us in a game of something. Shout out to my wife. She got some, I've said that she has picked up some games for me at garage sales. So that's been real sweet at some cheap prices. She could have got me like the whole everything but the last expansion of Destiny 2, but I wasn't into Destiny 2, so I told her no.
Didn't we get Destiny 2 for free, though?
I think we may have got the base game or something, because it was right before the last expansion came out, and I was just but this one came with the base game and the first 2 expansions.
Gotcha.
And I was just kind of like, oh, that's a really good deal, but I don't care about Destiny, so no thank you. A shout out to her for that. Also, a shout out to her. She was able to get a couple of sewing machines and a really big chair for free. And there's nothing wrong with the sewing machines, and they're like expensive sewing machines. And the lady is just like, "Here, you want them?" I was like, sure. So shout out to her for that. That's a pretty cool find. Shout out to my niece who got her first platinum trophy. She was really proud of that.
Which game was that in?
The Walking Dead, the definitive edition.
Ooh, that's a long plat right there.
It is. I didn't realize when I suggested it. Well, it's cheaper to buy this version instead of buying them all individually.
Well,
and then I realized after she bought it, I'd forgotten that it's 1 long platinum instead of 3 platinums and 100%. So I felt kind of bad because I'm like, well, buy this one. This one's cheaper. But she was like, nah, no worries. I just wanted to play them all. She's 1 trophy away from Minecraft, and I keep telling her all you gotta do is look it up, and I'm sure you can find a room. It's the one where you gotta go like a really long distance on the rail car.
Okay.
And I'm like, just Google it. I'm sure you can find a room someone's got where you can just jump in, whee, and boom, trophy, and you got it.
Well, tell her I got good news because Sweet Mama D made that room, and she could do that easily.
I keep trying to tell her, and she's like, oh, I will. That could have been her first platinum. That's the only trophy she's missing in that game. Anyway, I was super proud that she, got a game that she liked, and she played through it and got the platinum. Shout out to Gareth for his rarity competition and his little side competition on top of the rarity competition that he did. I appreciate your $10 gift card, sir. And finally, a shout out to Matt G for listening to the first Patreon episode. I was leery of doing it. It wasn't too bad, so we'll see how the rest of the season goes. And
yeah,
I said I wasn't the most informed in Star Wars, and I'm glad that someone can shine more information on what I don't know.
Yeah, I think that episode came out really well because we talked about not only the episode, but we actually. We were asking questions like, what is a Mandalorian and all this other stuff, which I think, those conversations are like the product of the show, like what makes the show good. Matt G instantly came out as like, he goes, I could do 3 hours on Mandalorian lore. But Matt G, I know you're in the chat. If anytime you want to come on the show, just let us know. You can give us insight that could help us out. But thank you for being the first subscriber to the that tier. If anybody doesn't know, we released a $5 tier that we're going to be covering different shows, different movies and stuff like that series. And the first one we're doing is The Mandalorian, which is going to feature me and Yield. We're going to go through release every show. We're going to record every show, hopefully every Thursday, release them every Friday morning. And once we get to season 3, I haven't watched season 3 either. So that will be new when I get when I get up
You're
there.
the only one who hasn't seen season 3.
Well, Alex hasn't seen season 3 either.
Okay. Well, Alex is sorry. You're right.
So, but if anybody wants, is a big fan of the show, want to come on, give us insight, whatnot, you're more than welcome. We generally record, I think we set Thursdays at 9-ish. Yield is what we said?
9:30. Depends on when I get done with Rocket League.
Yeah, and it also depends on when the hell I get home from work. All right, so Alex, we've stalled quite a bit. Have you been able to watch the trailer?
Yeah, so I totally understand the BioShock inspiration, and I think even in articles that I've read about it, they say it's BioShock inspired, very steampunky, even more overtly steampunky than even BioShock, and definitely gives off vibes more so of Columbia and BioShock Infinite than BioShock and Rapture in the first 2 games. But it looks like a cool game because it's also got like a time bending mechanic, almost like where they say like change the past, control the future, kind of like the butterfly effect, where the things you do in the past will change the future. I don't know how much that plays into it, but there's definitely some time screwiness going on in the game. The game is being developed by In Exile, and it does fall under the Microsoft Game Studios label. So this very well may be exclusive to Xbox Series X and S as well as PC, Steam. So it's may not be coming to PlayStation 5 at all. In fact, I assume it will not be coming to PlayStation 5. And one of the articles I read from let's see, where was this? Culturevultures.com or culturevultures.com. Ash Bates was kind of wondering if it would come to the PlayStation 5 and gave out some examples of, how, it's likely not coming, but there is hope, and gave some examples. Talked about Psychonauts 2, Ghostwire Tokyo, and Deathloop all coming to PlayStation 5 despite being Xbox owning all the studios behind those games. I will point out that all those games were designated multi-platform before the purchase. Before the purchase, and Psychonauts 2 was crowdfunded, so you can't have people who maybe on PlayStation's help crowdfund in that game and then say, oh well, no, wait, it's not going to be on your platform. So they had to avoid that little conundrum. They also pointed out that PlayStation Studios publishing MLB The Show also comes to other platforms. Well, that's because Major League Baseball said you couldn't keep it exclusive anymore. You got to take it to the Xbox and other platforms. So yeah, any kind of examples that Ash gave of that would give you any hope. You can kind of punch a hole through because yeah, for the explanations we gave. So this is likely going to be a PC and Microsoft only game. You're not likely going to see Clockwork Revolution on the PlayStation.
As I would say that would be disappointing for people who were looking forward to it on PlayStation consoles. As for the industry, I feel that it's good if Microsoft has a good exclusive.
Well, I just went to the studio's website, and the first thing it says is we're an Xbox game studio developing console and PC titles with locations in Southern California and New Orleans. So they are owned by Xbox. So I seriously doubt this is coming to a PlayStation. All right, Alex, your shout out, sir.
So I want to give a shout out first and foremost to our wonderful community, some of who we had in the chat today. Thank you to everyone who joined us. You guys are awesome. And thank you, Stylen, for not holding my I wouldn't say hate, but my, rather large dislike of recent Nicolas Cage movies against me. Although I haven't seen Renfield, so I'm not going to comment.
That one does look good.
I would like to see Renfield, yeah, with Nicholas Hoult and Nicolas Cage.
Wasn't there like a movie just recently where Nicolas Cage was playing Nicolas Cage and like totally Nicolas Cage?
Yeah, because Pedro Pascal is in it. Pedro Pascal is like the biggest, and Neil Patrick Harris is in it. He plays Nicolas Cage's agent, and Pedro Pascal. I haven't seen the movie, but I remember the trailer. Pedro Pascal is like his biggest fan and wants him to show up, either to perform or something for like his birthday party. But I guess the guy's like a hitman or something, and like the CIA wants him to work as like a double agent and spy on him. The dude's like all fanboying all over Nicolas Cage, you know. And it looks kind of like a funny, goofy movie because Nicolas Cage is like being like stereotypically being himself, like overacting in certain spots or something, and it looks funny. That was another one I wanted to see.
It's called The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
That's what it's called.
To be fair, like Nicolas Cage, for a long time, there's been a joke that Nicolas Cage will accept any role just for money. But maybe he's finally leaning into that kind of stuff.
I mean, he's jumping into Dead by Daylight.
Well, the whole story started out was he's broke. Or not broke, but he might be broke. But he needs money. And his agent's like, you need to take this. This is a great payday. And he's like, no, I don't want to do it. And then he's like, all right, I'll do it. So.
All right. So, I'm sorry, Alex, we messed up your shout-outs. Go ahead.
No, that Nicolas Cage talk, it's captivating this episode. The community, you guys are awesome. Thank you all, everyone who supports us. The real reason the show keeps going and thriving. So without you all, we are nothing. Shout out to Tricky. Happy Father's Day, Tricky. And to all the fathers out there in the Whoredom.
Thank you, sir.
Yield, sir, thank you for joining us and enlightening us on Star Wars and just kind of all the insight you brought on this episode. And for being a fan of Con Air. We love those people. Give a shout out to my awesome and loving girlfriend, Ashley. We had a good weekend. Went down to Pride in downtown Louisville. We went to PopCon today, and I spent way too much money on stuff which I always do. We go to those kind of conventions. But yeah, it was a good weekend. Love you, honey. And those are going to be my shout outs.
Just for reference, Rotten Tomatoes has The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. The tomato meter and the audience score is both 87%. Salon Bro wants to give his own shout out. He goes, shout out to the actual Nicolas Cage.
I mean, he was mentioned quite a bit. Shout out to Nicolas Cage. I'll do it.
Shout out to all the people that listen. Thank you for everybody getting in the chat. Stalin, glad you popped in here today. Matt G, as always. V, I see you in here too, even though you started your stream, so I don't know if you're still listening to us. Shout out to Macho. I see you in the chat too, sir. Very quiet.
Oh, yeah.
I see you in here. You're quiet, but I see you in here. And shout out to everybody. Thank you very much. Go check out the new Patreon episodes with The Mandalorian. I think I found the perfect topic to get Yield going with. Because every week
we'll see how it goes. I've committed to season 1. Nothing more.
You've committed all 3 seasons. Don't lie.
I committed to season 1. I said it was a really good idea. I could possibly do it, but I'll commit to season 1.
You know what? Let's get more subs on there so Yield feels it pressured to go on to season 2 and 3.
You got to think about it. We've got season 1. We got season 2. You got the Book of Boba Fett before you go to season 3. And then after that, if you want to stay in a Star Wars universe, we got Obi-Wan. You've got season 1 of Andor.
It sounds like you're committed to a whole lot of episodes there, Yield.
That's why I said I'll commit to season 1.
Well,
Skeleton Crew isn't out yet. Ahsoka comes out at the end of August.
We'll get them there, everybody. Thank you, everybody. If there's nothing else, until next week, happy trophy hunting.
See ya.
Later.
He's doing all 3 seasons.
The theme song is Venus by the band Even off their album Zenith. Permission granted by the band and 12 Stone Records. You can find them on Facebook by going to www.facebook.com/evenphilippines.